What is going on, everybody? ZyoniK here, and in today's video we're diving into the Weather Cup, which is now in Go Battle League. Fire, Water, Ice, and Rock type Pokemon are eligible, and today's team is going to be Credilli, Tentacruel, and Toxapex. Recently got to power up my Toxapex, so I'm excited to use it for the first time. Alright, getting into the first battle, we have Credilli on the lead versus Blaziken. This is a Pokemon I ran as well later today, and you guys can see that video later on, but we have a Tentacruel safe swap now into a Ludicolo, and this is what I love about the Tentacruel safe swap. If there are Razor Leaf users back there, they really like to swap into it, and unfortunately for them, I do have Acid Spray on this build, which is going to allow me to just fully farm down the poor Ludicolo, keep shield advantage and switch advantage, which means now I'll be able to go for a Scald here against Blaziken to force shield number 2. So this is looking to be a good game. Obviously, the game's not over yet. We also got an attack drop as well on the Blaziken, so this poor thing. We're going to bring in Toxapex. Now, mind you, Toxapex is so bulky. It's like as bulky as a Bastiodon, which means this Brave Bird right here does nothing. That's neutral damage. Granted, we had the attack lowered, but they decided to swap into a Bastiodon now, which is totally fine. We can go for a Brine right here for super effective damage, and then swap out now into Credilli to take this game. We got to be careful about the Flamethrower. It can do a decent amount of damage, but we have 2 shields to no shields, which is perfectly fine. We're just going to look to go for Grass Knots right here to do as much damage as possible and close this game out. But ultimately, that game came down to, we had a hard lead loss. That game came down to the safe swap with Tentacruel and forcing out a Razor Leaf user, which you're not going to get every time. But with Poison Jab and Acid Spray in those situations, it does very, very well. So that's going to be a good game. We're going to go ahead and go for the Grass Knot. I think our switch clock is back up as well, which means we're going to go back into Toxapex here when they decide to come back in with the Blaziken, and then we're just going to Poison Jab down. We will give up the final shield here. Respect the Brave Bird, obviously, and it's just going to be a Blaze Kick, which is fine. We can now fast move down, and that is going to be a good game. Alright, moving into the next one, we have Credilli on the lead versus Qwilfish. So, somewhat actually of a decent lead. Same typing, Poison and Water as our back line, but it can spam charge moves very, very quickly. And thankfully, they just went straight for Aqua Tail. So, I'm curious if they actually have Ice Beam or not. But we're just going to go ahead and go for a Grass Knot here. And then I'm going to look to try to catch a charge move on our Tentacruel, as it will. Actually, I just decided to go straight into it right there. I think had I waited in for one more second, they decided to come into the mirror match now. So I'm going to go ahead and go for an Acid Spray right away. It's just going to benefit me more, as the Poison Jabs will just do more and more damage since we're doing resisted damage with both Acid Spray and Scald. So in this situation, I am going to go ahead and let the charge move go through, and they have an Acid Spray as well. But granted, they have the one-up on me with the shiny Tentacruel, which is awesome to see. So huge congrats to them on getting that Pokemon. But now our Scald does so much damage because of Acid Spray that I can take Switch right here if I want to, which with the Tentacruel with this much health and an Acid Spray debuff, that is potentially worth it. So we're just going to go ahead and farm down. Now we have an Acid Spray for whatever the final Pokemon is going to be, but I decided to swap into Toxapex right away. I probably, in hindsight, should have thrown the Acid Spray, then swapped out, but I thought, you know, maybe I'll need it later on. So we'll have to see how this plays out. Now, thankfully, we resist all the charge moves here from the Poliwrath, right? The Scald, the Ice Punch, that Dynamic Punch. It's a beautiful setup for us, and we get a shield as well with Brine right there. Sludge Wave would still do a decent amount of neutral damage, so in that situation, it makes sense why they're just going to go ahead and give up a shield, because they got a shield at some point, considering that their Qwilfish as well has basically no health remaining. They do have a decent amount of energy, so we have to be careful about that, but the Scald isn't enough to take us down, and this is what really impressed me with Toxapex, is its bulk. Its bulk and its coverage in this meta is so good. Now, we will see the Qwilfish come back in, so we're going to go ahead, and I probably shield this. No, we're going to go ahead and let it go. It's just going to be an Ice Beam, and we are going to farm down. Yeah, I'll shield this one now and farm down. So we still had Credilli. We still had Toxapex still alive, but that is going to be a good game. All right, moving into the next one. We have Credilli on the lead versus Quagsire. So very positive lead this time for us. So we will see them swap out into Ludicolo. So we're going to come in once again with that Tentacruel. You guys saw this matchup before where the Ludicolo came into us, and mistakenly so. Because we can just dominate this matchup right here with Acid Spray. They decide to no-shield it, which is fine. We can just fully farm down anyways. And now Quagsire is going to look to probably come back in and try to farm us down for a lot of energy. That's the dangerous thing about Quagsire in this meta, is if it has a lot of energy, it can be very, very deadly. But thankfully, we have so much bulk here with the Mudshot damage coming in that they're not going to be able to take us down fast enough before we can threaten with another Scald. So actually, I decide to go for the Acid Spray here. Granted, I should have built up to a Scald to guarantee, but we get a shield anyways, which was my goal. And then this is now looking very good for us. They decide to swap out into a Araquanid to farm down, and that's perfectly fine. Toxapex hard walls this as well as we resist Bug Bite, Bubble Beam, and Bug Buzz. Toxapex is absolutely amazing. I was really impressed with this. This was my first time running it today, ever. I know it's been around for a while, but when it comes to big investments, I know my IVs aren't the best over there. Granted, my Credilli and Tentacruel I think I made in 2019. I just haven't replaced them yet. But Toxapex, I traded a bunch in order to potentially get the best IV, and that was the best one I got. So I'm happy to invest the dust in it. So this is looking still to be a good game, as Araquanid is just going to keep going for Bubble Beams. Remember, there's still the Quagsire. We have 2 shields. We have Credilli. I'm going to go ahead and go for the Brine now to see if we can force a final shield, I guess, from the opponent. They should probably just let it go, but let's see. They do decide to shield, which is fine. I'm now going to go ahead and farm down. They swap into Quagsire instead, so I'm going to go ahead and let this go. It is going to be the Stone Edge, which does take us out, but now Credilli can come in and farm down. We'll safely shield this charge move. Granted, I can survive anything right here, unless it's a Sludge Bomb. That would be dangerously close. But we'll just give up the final shield and then look to go for Stone Edge here versus the Araquanid, and that'll be a good game. Another thing, we talked about it. If you guys haven't seen the meta guide video yet, I have it on the channel, but we talked about how deadly Credilli is in this meta because of Stone Edge and Grass Knot, and that is the reason why. All right, we got Credilli versus Toxapex. Now, this is tough. Toxapex, right, on my side has been doing so well because it just walls so much stuff. They swap into Abomasnow, and I think I make a critical mistake right here. I come in with my own Toxapex. What I should have done was come in with Tentacruel because of Poison Jab and Acid Spray. It also sets us up a lot better in the after this mid-game safe swap to debuff whatever's coming back in, because now I gave up my bulkiest Pokemon to potentially get farmed down, and they're going to come in with their Credilli, so this is definitely going to be tough. So I'm going to go ahead and go for a Brine. It does a decent amount of neutral damage. I was worried that they might just get to a Grass Knot before I could get off the Sludge Wave, but now they read it correctly. Now that they saw me go for the Brine, they're going to overload on energy, so this is still a dangerous situation. We have basically the same pairing right here. They have a bit less health, but they have more energy, which I think energy might be the advantage. But we're going to come in with Tentacruel right now into this matchup. We're going to try our best to farm down, get as much energy as we can, but Grass Knot still does a decent amount of neutral damage. So now I'm going to be forced to actually shield right here, which I decide not to, because now this is so close. We see them swap into the Toxapex, so I'm going to go ahead and go for the Acid Spray. This is going to allow my fast move Bullet Seed and the Grass Knots to do more damage, which is desperately what I need in this matchup. And you guys are seeing why I wish I held on to Toxapex, because the Toxapex versus Credilli would have been a lot better if I was at full health than the Tentacruel versus Credilli, just because of how much damage Grass Knot does. Now, we got to spam these as quickly as possible because of 2 shields remaining and because of the multiple charge moves that are being thrown out. A switch is going to be happening here soon, and I desperately want to land a Grass Knot before they can swap out. And my switch clock is basically their switch clock minus about 6 seconds, which means they're going to be able to swap now, which is very, very unfortunate. As you see, they decide to come in. So now I have to throw Grass Knot. I have to. I have no shields left. And this puts me in a very tough situation versus my opponent, as now I have to try to catch the charge move. The only way to win is landing 2 Grass Knots right here. So let's see if we can pull it off. It's going to be extremely close. Let's see if we can do it. And swap. Nope. Excuse me. Nope, we didn't get it. They farmed us down. I might have miscounted right there. But either way, very close game. I think that came down to my decision to come in with Toxapex versus Abomasnow instead of Tentacruel. I think had I come in with Tentacruel, we would have been in a lot better situation because of the acid spray damage on the back end and debuffs. All right, we got Lantern now in the final battle, and this is what Credilli is built to take down in this meta. Even though we take neutral damage here from Surf, granted, my opponent made a mistake. They go for Thunderbolt. This is a good learning lesson. This is why I wanted to show this specific battle, is for anyone running Lantern, you want to be going for Surfs versus Credilli. I know a lot of you may not have faced a Credilli before, or maybe haven't used Lantern too much, but it's that rock grass typing that takes neutral damage from Surf, so you want to be going for that. Thankfully, in this situation, we got a shield, so we're going to go ahead and come into the mirror fight. As Toxapex came in, Credilli doesn't need as much health in order to take down Lantern. So what I needed to do was come into the mirror fight here with Toxapex with an advantage. So I have shield and health advantage right now. So we're just going to go ahead and just go for these sludge waves. Brine, both are resisted. Both are same type attack bonus. But unfortunately, Brine is just like... It's like the worst, maybe not the worst. I think Water Pulse might have been a worse water charge move to get. It's just not the best. Let's just say that. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to load up on energy. I think I did these battles a while ago. I decided to let this go. It is going to be the Brine. And then we're just going to go ahead and try to commit to the farm down. I don't think I'll be able to, so I just decided to go for Brine myself. Granted, 2 more poison jabs. I think I would have gotten it right there. But that's okay. We will see the Ludicolo come in. So we're not actually able to get to a sludge wave. But this is, again, looking to be a good game because of poison jab and acid spray. So we're going to go ahead and throw that. If this gets the final shield, it is definitely a good game. But what we're most likely going to see is probably a no shield right here on their side as we fast move down. And then we're going to go ahead and swap back into Credilli, making sure the Lantern doesn't get ahead on energy because I need to be able to land these grass knots. I do have 2 shields, which is definitely advantageous for me against a Lantern. So it doesn't necessarily mean that just because I have lower health with the yellow versus their green doesn't mean I can't win this. We're resisting sparks, so they're not able to do that much damage to us. They decide to shield that grass knot, and then I go for another one, but I think they surrendered as my research completion came up. So yeah, they did surrender right there. That was a good game, very well played. This team was a lot of fun. I enjoyed using Toxapex for the first time. If you guys are still on the edge or on the fence about to build it or not, if you guys have the extra resources, this is going to be a good time to bring it out. I think it's very bulky and very solid in this meta that we do have with the Weather Cup, and it still does well in Open Great League. Tentacruel as well is a good Pokemon for Open Great League, and Credilli usually shines in spicy cups like this, the unique cups that we see every now and then, so it's definitely worth the investment if you want to have it long term for that. So hope you guys enjoyed today's video, and like always, thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.